The Konica Hexanon 52mm f1.8, a sturdy lens manufactured in 1960s Japan, is a compact and healthy weighted prime lens that I find renders beautiful and sharp, but not too sharp images when mounted to my Panasonic S5. The aperture ring is a clicky one, and the focus ring carries what I'd call excellent resistance. Now, this particular lens that I have has the Konica AR bayonet and fits my full frame camera using an AR to L mount adapter. The EE sign that you see on this one indicates that this lens was compatible with, or is compatible with, the auto reflex and auto reflex P camera bodies at an auto aperture capacity. But as this is simply mounted to my mirrorless, this is entirely used as a manual lens, manual aperture and manual focus. But none of this information is good without some example or sample photo and video. So let's take a look and you can decide for yourself if this relatively affordable lens, which sells for around or just under $40, would be any good for you. YouTube, hello, my name is Natalie, and to start, I got this Konica Hexanon lens for around 250 Rand, which is around 12 pounds or just under $50. I was lucky as this was in great condition despite it having been lying around out in the sun and the wind at a sort of sandy market. There was external dirt on it, which I found really easy to blow off and wipe off, and the internal dust, if any, is negligible in my opinion. I'm shooting this video that you see here right now with the Konica, which is why I am at the slightly odd crop compared to other videos that I tend to post on here, which is usually shot at a wider angle. But I thought it would be nice to give you a feel for this in video with a wide open aperture. This lens has been a pleasant surprise for video, and I shot one of my more recent shorts using this one, where the person that was doing a lot of the filming had virtually no experience doing so, and she managed really well, even with manual focus. The size of the lens makes it really easy to do so, and the resistance on the focus ring is, I don't know how to say it, but I feel like it's healthy. It'll be unlikely to accidentally shift focus because there's good resistance, but it's also easy to intentionally twist. Where this lens triumphs for me is in darker portraits, though there is no need to compare this particular lens to the previous vintage lens that I made a video about, the Pentax 35-70 f3.5 to 4.5. I feel that I just can't extract the same quality and richness in color during photo editing, especially in brighter scenes, which is where the Pentax truly thrived. Now, though this isn't a great thing to say about the Konica, I don't necessarily perceive this to be a bad thing. It's just something to kind of keep in mind. And having said this, I would hold this Konica to be of more value to me despite of all of this, because I feel it performs beautifully as a cine prime, even though it's not a cine lens strictly speaking, but I'd argue for it being a fine prime for video. And I'd also say that this is a high quality portrait lens for darker and perhaps, moodier scenarios. Whereas the Pentax I would classify as a more bright, rich, vibrant, fun run and gun type of lens for a chilled day out of fun and quickie portraits. Now, I realize it might seem silly to even compare these two, as they are completely different tools for completely different scenarios, but I do think it's worth mentioning because, as I suspect a great deal of people that watch this channel are predominantly beginners or are sort of kind of getting into vintage lenses now. So if you find that you are ready to start exploring vintage lenses, I do recommend that you take each new lens that you get and you push them to explore all categories of photography, so you can really get a feel for what they thrive at and what you can leave them at home for. In scenarios where there is color and clear separation between the subject and the background, the shadow depth of field and the bokeh produced are quite dreamy and a little unsettling in a good way. I'd say that it's interesting. As with the previous vintage lens review I published here, I won't comment on the temperature or the tint tendencies of this Konica lens, as I shoot with auto white balance for photography and then I correct it in post. But I can say that when underexposing the image, the colors produced and extracted are punchy, and I can't quite get the same satisfaction for brighter images though. Though if you enjoy playing around with like color grading and hue shifting and stuff like that, you can definitely make up for that in post for your photography. Overall, this lens is great for video, and I'm happy to include it in my toolkit as a video prime, and of course for darker portraits. Now, considering this lens is around 60 years old, I am impressed at the condition it kept even at a sunny, dusty market. I'll definitely be using this in future video projects, and I think the main thing stopping this from performing like a true cine prime, apart from this built to measure light in f-stops rather than t-stops, is the clicky aperture ring, which is something that is basic and easy to kind of work around. So let's leave it at that. Thanks so much for being here, folks. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos. Don't forget to keep taking photos, keep making videos, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.